Hello, welcome to the intimate hour where our stories dive deep into desire, secrets, and the places where lust and danger blur. What you're about to hear is not just about a man with a delivery box at the door. This is about temptation showing up uninvited, about loneliness cracking wide open, and what happens when two people cross a line they never planned to. This is a real feeling story, dark, intimate, and dangerously human. I'm Erotica, 31. Divorced, working from home, and living in a quiet, upscale apartment complex just outside the city. Most days blur into one another. Client calls, marketing reports, half-eaten leftovers, and the hum of an air conditioner that works better than my love life. Since my divorce 2 years ago, I kept to myself. No dates, no apps, not even late-night texts from anyone who mattered. My body had gone quiet. But my mind, it still wandered. It was a Thursday evening, monsoon season. The kind where rain taps like fingers on your window, and the world outside feels miles away. I'd ordered dinner late, some spicy biryani from a place nearby. Nothing out of the ordinary. But what showed up at my door wasn't just food. It was the start of everything. He was soaked, wearing that standard delivery boy raincoat, but it hung open, revealing a lean, tall frame in a clingy black t-shirt and jeans drenched from the storm. His helmet visor was up, and beneath it, deep eyes, a sharp jawline, lips slightly parted as if caught mid-thought. And young. Not too young, but younger than me. Maybe 24, 25. He looked at me like he wasn't expecting someone like me to open that door. I wasn't wearing anything outrageous, just a loose gray t-shirt and shorts, but his eyes lingered for half a second too long. I should have taken the bag, thanked him, and closed the door. That's what I usually do. But something in me, some wild, hidden corner of me, held the moment just a little longer. "Do you want to come inside? You're dripping," I heard myself say. It sounded motherly, or at least that's how I justified it to myself. Just offering shelter. Nothing more. He hesitated, then nodded. He stepped inside, water trailing from his clothes onto my floor. I handed him a towel. He wiped his hair awkwardly, avoiding my eyes. There was something about his shyness that pulled at me. Like he wasn't used to being noticed. Like he never expected to be invited into a stranger's home, especially not a woman like me. "What's your name?" I asked as I closed the door behind us. "Ravi," he said softly. "Yours?" "Erotica." We stood there, inches apart. The room was quiet except for the thunder outside and the low buzz of my ceiling fan. The air between us felt too thick for strangers. "Would you like some tea?" I asked. My voice was casual, but my hands trembled slightly. I hadn't felt this alive in months. He nodded. I moved to the kitchen. I could feel him watching me. I knew my shirt rode up slightly as I reached for the cups, that my bare legs were visible beneath the loose hem of my shorts. And for the first time in a long time, I wanted to be watched. I made us tea. We sat at the dining table, barely 2 feet apart. I learned that he worked 2 jobs to help his mother and younger sister. He was studying part-time. He never said much, but what he did say was laced with raw honesty. I don't know what got into me. Maybe it was the loneliness. Maybe the storm. Or maybe it was the way his eyes kept drifting to my lips when I talked, how his fingers fidgeted on the cup, as though they longed to touch something but didn't know if they were allowed. "You're shivering," I said, noticing the slight tremble in his arms. "It's okay," he said quickly. "It's just cold. I'll go now." He stood up. But I stood too, and we were close again, closer than we should be. I touched his hand. It was cold, damp, but strong. "You don't have to rush," I said softly. His eyes searched mine, confused, vulnerable, yet full of something else. Something unspoken. I don't know who leaned in first, but the kiss happened before either of us could think. Slow, unsure, hesitant. His lips were cold, but they warmed against mine. His hands didn't know where to go, hovering just at the edge of my waist, and I pulled him closer. The kiss deepened. Tentative became hungry, slow became desperate. My hand slid under his wet t-shirt, feeling the taut muscles of his back, the ridges of someone who worked hard for every inch. He gasped slightly as my nails grazed his spine. He pulled away only to look at me with wide, questioning eyes. "Are you sure?" he asked, breathless. I had never been more sure. We moved toward the couch without words. Clothes became irrelevant. My shirt slipped over my head. His jacket fell to the floor. His fingers trembled as they touched me, like he wasn't sure if he deserved to. But I guided him, slowly, patiently, showing him exactly how I wanted to be touched. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't pornographic. It was something else, something aching and raw and full of silent permission. He kissed every part of me like it was sacred, like he couldn't believe I was real, and I let myself feel it all, every inch, every stroke, every breath that wasn't mine alone anymore. For the first time in years, I wasn't performing. I wasn't playing the role of someone who should be sexy. I was because I felt wanted, and because I wanted him. Afterward, we lay on the couch, tangled and quiet. The rain had stopped, but the silence between us was heavier than thunder. He looked at me, then sat up slowly. "I should go," he said. "I don't want you to think." "I don't think anything," I whispered. "You don't have to explain." He nodded, dressed, slipped on his jacket, then paused at the door. Will I see you again?" I looked at him for a long moment. I should have said no. I should have ended it right there. But I didn't. "Come by tomorrow," I said. "Same time." He smiled, a small, stunned, boyish smile. Then he left. I locked the door behind him and leaned against it, breathless, heart pounding, lips still tingling from the taste of something I never expected. He came to deliver food. But what he really delivered was a version of me I thought I'd buried long ago. The next day didn't feel like a normal Friday. All morning I was restless. I tried to focus on my work, emails, client meetings, the spreadsheet waiting to be updated, but my thoughts kept slipping back to the night before, to the way his mouth tasted, the way his fingers had explored like he was trying to memorize me, and the way he had asked, with such fragile hope in his voice, if he'd see me again. What was I doing? I hadn't even let myself sleep with someone in 2 years. And now here I was inviting a delivery boy, Ravi, into my home, into my body. But the shame I expected, it never came. Instead, there was this slow burn inside me, like a door had opened and the woman behind it had finally stepped into the light again. When 9 p.m. came, I was already in something intentionally casual. A thin tank top, soft cotton shorts, no bra. The food order had been placed, but honestly that was just protocol. The moment the doorbell rang, my pulse raced. I opened the door, and he was there again. Same raincoat, same nervous smile, but this time there was a flicker of something new in his eyes. Confidence. A memory we now shared. Something about that thrilled me. "Hi," I said, voice low. "Hi," he echoed, stepping in without hesitation this time. He carried the food in, but I didn't take it. I let it sit on the side table, ignored like a forgotten excuse. "You okay?" I asked, searching his face. He nodded. "All day. I kept thinking I dreamt it, that maybe I imagined it all, that you'd act like it didn't happen." I stepped closer, touching the side of his face gently. "It happened, and I haven't forgotten a second of it." He exhaled shakily, and that was all it took. This time he kissed me first. Rougher. Hungrier. Like the barrier between us had already been broken and now there was nothing holding him back. His hands gripped my waist, lifted me up like I weighed nothing, and walked me toward the bedroom. Yes, the couch was where we started. But now, I wanted to be taken properly. On my bed. In my space. As if he belonged. The bedroom was dim, only lit by the amber glow of my bedside lamp. As we undressed, I noticed how his hands were firmer now, more certain. Still tender, but less hesitant. His body hovered over mine as he slid between my thighs, and I whispered, "Take your time tonight. I want to feel everything." And he did. He explored me like a language he was determined to learn, and I gave him every word, every sound, every motion of approval. He wasn't just inside my body. He was inside my need, and I didn't want it to end. But then, just as we were catching our breath, his head resting on my chest, skin sticky with sweat, his phone vibrated. He sat up quickly. "Shit," he muttered, grabbing his jeans. "It's my cousin. I told him I'd help at his place tonight. He doesn't know where I am." "You don't have to explain," I said, sitting up with the sheet loosely around me. "You can go if you need to." He nodded reluctantly, but before leaving, he turned to me and said, "Can I come tomorrow? Even if I'm not on shift?" I smiled. "The door will be open." After he left, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. This wasn't just sex anymore. There was something forming. It scared me a little, but it also made my chest ache in a way that felt alive. The next night came faster than I expected. He knocked once. No food delivery this time, just him. Jeans, a plain white tee, and that same smile that now made my stomach flutter. But this time it wasn't just passion. It was different. After we made love, we lay in the darkness and I asked him something real. "Have you ever done this before?" I asked. "With a woman like me?" He turned his face toward me, half in the shadows. "No, never. I don't even know how to explain it. When I saw you that first night, I don't know. You looked so lonely and strong and sexy. I thought there's no way she'd ever look at me. And now, I whispered, now I can't stop thinking about you. My breath caught. It was more than I expected him to say. But just as that soft moment held us, something shifted. The doorbell rang. We froze. It was 11:15 p.m. Ravi sat up instantly. Are you expecting someone? No, I said quickly, pulling on my robe. I walked quietly to the door and looked through the peephole. It was the building's security guard. I opened the door just a crack. Ma'am, sorry to disturb you, he said with a low voice. But someone's been downstairs for over an hour. He's asking about a Ravi. He says he's Ravi's cousin. My blood ran cold. I'll come downstairs, I said, closing the door. I turned to Ravi. Your cousin's here. He's looking for you. Ravi's face went pale. He doesn't know. He just thought I was out late. I didn't tell him about us. What do you want to do? I asked. I have to go. If he tells my mother I was here, it'll be chaos. I nodded and helped him dress fast. Before he left, he pulled me in, kissed my forehead, and whispered, I'll find a way to make this work. And then he was gone. But I didn't sleep that night. Because what began as something reckless and exciting was quickly becoming a knot of risks I hadn't planned for. The next day, I didn't hear from him. I messaged, no reply. That night passed with the sheets cold and untouched. The next morning, I finally got a message. I need to stay away for a while. My cousin figured things out. He thinks I'm being used, but I know what this is. I just need time. I stared at the screen. I didn't know what to feel. Used? Is that how it looked from the outside? Was I the desperate older woman sleeping with the delivery boy? Or was I something else? Something more? The silence grew longer. A week passed. Then 10 days. Then 2 weeks. My heart ached. My body missed him. But more than that, I missed the quiet trust we had built in those nights. Then out of nowhere one evening the doorbell rang. I opened it, and there he was, but not in delivery clothes. He wore a clean blue shirt, combed hair, nervous energy radiating off him like heat. I told my cousin, he said before I could even speak. Everything. I told him I wasn't being used. I wasn't being stupid. That I wanted to see you. And that I'm not going to hide anymore. I blinked, stunned. He stepped closer. And I know you didn't plan for this either. But it's real for me. I don't care if people don't understand it. My throat tightened. I stepped back and let him in. And then I shut the door, not just on the hallway but on every doubt that had lingered. As we kissed again, slower this time, the world outside faded. He wasn't just the boy who came to deliver. He was the one who delivered me, back to life. The weeks after Ravi returned felt different. We weren't hiding anymore. He would come by without the excuse of food orders. Sometimes just to sit beside me, sometimes to stay the night. Our days blurred into one long stretch of soft glances, inside jokes, passionate sex, and lazy mornings where neither of us wanted to go back to reality. I had never been in something like this before, not even in my marriage. With Ravi there were no masks, no forced smiles. Just raw need and honesty. Our conversations were a strange mix of vulnerability and heat. I was the older one, sure, but he wasn't just some kid. He had fire in him. Passion that refused to be diminished. And I found myself drawn to that flame like I had no control over my own gravity. But reality? It never stays silent for long. It began one Monday morning. I was sipping coffee at my desk, reading reports, when I received a message from a neighbor in the building. She was older, polite, but her message made my stomach twist. Hey Amrita, I don't mean to pry, but there have been whispers around the complex about a young delivery boy being seen at your apartment, frequently. Just be careful, people talk. People talk. Of course they do. I ignored it at first, but the next few days brought more tension. Odd glances in the elevator. A friend of my ex-husband, who lived 2 buildings down, saw Ravi leaving one morning. I knew the look on his face. It wasn't surprise. It was judgment. Ravi noticed the shift too. He stopped holding my hand in the lobby. Started texting instead of ringing the bell. One night, I found him standing at the bottom of the stairwell, hesitant to even come up. What's wrong? I asked. He looked up at me with eyes that held too much for someone his age. I overheard your neighbor downstairs. She said you've lost control. That you're sleeping with the delivery boy like it's some cheap romance. My body stiffened. The words cut deep, not because they were true but because they were meant to shame me. Ravi stepped closer. Tell me, does it bother you? That people know. I hesitated. Not because I was ashamed of him, but because I'd lived a life full of rules, respectability, and roles. I had been the good wife, the dependable friend, the polished professional. And here I was now, kissing a 25-year-old against the stairwell wall, while whispers followed me like shadows. "Do you want this to stop?" he asked, softer this time. I looked him dead in the eye. "No, but I need to stop hiding." And that's exactly what I did. The next evening, I walked down to the apartment manager's office with Ravi beside me. I spoke to her calmly, told her there were rumors being spread about someone who had done nothing wrong, and I asked her, directly, to remind residents that slander could get them removed under the society rules. Ravi didn't say a word the entire time, but I felt the heat of his palm tighten around mine. When we left the office, I expected him to pull away. He didn't. He pulled me to the side of the corridor and kissed me, hard, public, raw. "I've never felt so proud," he whispered. That night, we didn't make love out of lust. It was something else. Something deeper. A connection built in the fire of judgment, forged with every look we dared ignore. His mouth explored me like he needed to rewrite the labels people tried to stick on us. His hands didn't fumble anymore. They knew where I melted, where I cried out, where I lost myself completely. He went slow, then fast, then slow again, as if timing himself to the rhythm of my desire. And I gave him everything. Again. And again. But of course, not everyone stayed silent. The next week, my ex-husband called me. We hadn't spoken in months. "You've made quite the name for yourself," he said coldly. "A delivery boy, Amrita? Really? What are you trying to prove?" I held the phone to my ear and smiled. "I'm not proving anything. I'm just finally living." Click. That was the end of that conversation. But what hurt more was what happened next. Ravi stopped coming by for 3 days. No texts. No updates. I told myself to be patient. But something didn't sit right. On the 4th day he messaged, "Amrita, I need to see you. I messed up. Please." He came that evening, eyes bloodshot, hands trembling. "I got into a fight," he said, pacing the living room. "My cousin told my mother everything. She was heartbroken. She thinks you're corrupting me, that you're using me for sex. She threatened to throw me out." I felt my breath catch. "What did you say?" "I told her I loved you." I sat down. My knees felt weak. He knelt in front of me. "I meant it." "I know," I whispered. "But it's not going to be easy, Ravi. I'm older. People will always look at this like I'm some fantasy of yours. Like I'm desperate. Or dirty." He looked up, tears in his eyes. "But they don't know what I know. That you're not just a woman I sleep with. You're the woman who made me feel seen. Who made me feel like I matter." And then I did something I hadn't done since the day I got married. I cried. Not from pain. But from being known. Truly, painfully, beautifully known. From that night on, we stopped apologizing. We walked the streets hand in hand. We went out for dinner. He introduced me to his younger sister, who adored me, and surprisingly to his mother, eventually. It wasn't easy. His mother refused to speak to me at first. But over time she saw how steady I was. How I listened to him. Supported him. Loved him. The world didn't change overnight. People still stared. But we learned to walk through their stares like they were invisible. One night, weeks later, we sat on my balcony. It was raining again, just like the night he first showed up. I turned to him and said, "If I had told you back then that a soaked delivery boy would become the man I trust most in this world, would you have believed me?" He laughed, leaned over, and kissed my bare shoulder. "I wouldn't have believed you, but I would have hoped." And there it was, the full circle. He came to deliver biryani. But what he delivered was far more powerful. He gave me permission to feel again. To desire. To love. To live without shame. And in return, I gave him something he never had before. A love that didn't care about age, status, or expectations. Just love. Real. Messy. Brave.